begin by a bit of a story. I was speaking to one of the architects that is doing our building on Yonge Street, and I was complaining to him, and he says, well, with a fixed budget, I had to decide between the amount of space I wanted and the quality of what I wanted. In some sense, universities and colleges and our government are under the same pressure. We all want more access, we all want more quality, yet we have a limited budget. But just as I expect the architect to find innovative solutions so that we can move on all fronts, so too can we be challenged to find more innovative solutions. But the point I want to make reflects the one you've heard of our colleagues, and that is to be very clear. I believe that universities and colleges are doing pretty well with the resources that they have, but I don't want to pretend that we can't do better. So what I would like to do is give you two suggestions of what I would say of ways to close the gap, but I wanted to put them in a different way. I want to put them as a smart way to close the gap. So I have two very specific recommendations. Let me begin by echoing a speech not too long ago by Frank McKenna. And I will take three different parts of that speech, and I don't think I'm taking them all out of context. The first comment he made was, and I quote, these are all quotes from Mr. McKenna, he said, "We must get rid of old-fashioned separation of academy, industry, and government. The new buzz phrase on university campuses should be collaborate or perish." So that's quote one. Quote two, "We are huge underachievers when it comes to advanced degrees in science and engineering education." And quote three, he says, "In Canada, science and engineering degrees make up about 25% of all new degrees. This is well below the OECD average. In countries such as Korea, science and engineering degrees are 40% of all new degrees. In terms of engineering alone, about 6% of our undergraduates earn such degrees. In Japan, Germany, South Korea, France, engineering degrees are almost a fifth. And in China, a full 45% of all baccalaureates are in engineering." So the question is, what can we do about this? And this goes to my first recommendation of closing the gap. But we should close it by more mathematics, more science, and more engineering. And we can begin this process of closing this gap by the same process of developing a more differentiated university system. No institution can do it all, and rather than be an average at everything, we really have to get down to defining where we can be best at some things. This year, right today, 25% of the students from high school, as we speak, are applying to science and engineering programs. So Mr. McKenna has it right. It is something to worry about. So what do we do about it? So this goes to my first recommendation. A minimum of 5 universities should have as their mission to work with all parts of the educational sector, from public schools to graduate schools, to raise our performance in graduating students in undergraduate and graduate degrees and diplomas in mathematics, science, engineering, and technology with a strong innovation focus. These institutions should aspire to be the best and see their future no different than Georgia Tech sees their future. But their mission is very, very directed at science, engineering, mathematics, and improving the educational system from beginning to end in that area. So we will have more in science and engineering, and we'll be closing the gap. The second recommendation is to develop an online, or I'm going to call it an iSmart education strategy for Ontario. The Chronicle of Higher Education has this week a story titled, and I quote, "University of California considers online classes or even degrees." The article has two wonderful comments. The first is someone commenting on California getting into this. They say, "It is like doing an experiment to see if the car is better than the horse in 1925 when everyone else is out there driving cars." The second is very important. If this project stumbles, it could dilute University of California's brand. So I take these two together to say the following. There's lots of competition, and we must get it right. There is no choice. Therefore, being clear on the goals that we want to accomplish in online education are critical. And I suggest there are 3 goals for our online or e-learning strategy in the province. And I want to make the point that one of the goals should not be to save money. It should be to make money. And the other ones, and I will put them in this order: deliver the highest quality online learning in the world. 2, provide flexible opportunities for students, including degree completion, and recognize that lifelong learning will be an economic advantage and necessity. And number 3, build e-learning as a strong education product for the national and international markets that can make money and advance the goal to increase international students by the 50% we're looking for. But how do we do this? My suggestion is you really have to focus on outcomes. So my second recommendation it will be very provocative, and I have to say, big time, I'm not speaking for COU. I happen to be the chair of COU, but no way am I now speaking for I wasn't speaking for the beginning, for sure not now.
You've gone rogue.
So my second recommendation is that we should name a university and a college to have as their mission online education, not as their only mission, but we have to focus the success in a few institutions. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that all institutions won't do it, but online and e-learning would be shared. A strong prior learning assessment front end can open doors for degree completion. Attention to World's Best will give us access to the e-education markets where the revenues from e-learning can help us bridge the second gap, which is quality and access. My last comment is, there's an article out last week, Chronicle of Higher Education, titled 1,000 New Universities for India. If you don't think there's a market for e-learning, then I am, well, there is. So my 2 recommendations is close the gap, but do it smartly. Thank you very, very much.